Greetings everyone. Thank you for watching another video on this YouTube channel. Today and on this video we are going to discuss around Microsoft protection. So in this case we have good news because Veeam Backup for Azure version 3 it has been released and it does include a few new features which they are absolutely fantastic. So let's start with the what's new, and then later on we will move into a bit of enhancements. And if you stay here on the video long enough, we are going to deploy together Veeam Backup for Azure version 3, and then we are going to configure everything that is new, and you can just check it out with me here in real time. I mean, on the video together. So first things first, what is new? Azure Microsoft SQL support. If you are running Azure SQL on the cloud, on Azure, probably you were struggling already with the data protection of this software as a service or PaaS as a service. So now with this Veeam Backup for Azure version 3, you can finally have protection along with, of course, with your virtual machines. So we are going to see how it works later on. You can just move the video and go into the specific section. So just take a look because it's really good. Second thing, it's the support for Azure Archive Storage class support, meaning that you will be able, of course, to leverage the normal Azure blob storage, but for those weeklies, monthlies, yearlies, automatically you can tier them into, of course, a storage that it will be much cheaper than normal Azure blob, even cold or hot, it doesn't matter, because of course the Azure Archive is going to always be much cheaper. So that's as well. For cost benefits, this is really good stuff, just to upgrade to this version 3 and leverage this new functionality. Another one that a lot of people, community, I've seen these customers, partners were requesting is the multiple Azure accounts support. So when you are trying to do the backup of different environments, sometimes you want to have these different Azure accounts to have the specific Azure account just doing the backup of that specific tenant or of that specific workloads itself. So with this version 3, finally you have these multiple Azure accounts, and I will encourage you to take a look. And of course, now you can start hardening a bit more the environments that you want to do backups through these multiple Azure accounts. Another improvement for security, which of course is really important nowadays, it's the role-based access control. And with this new role-based access control, you will be able to kind of slice like a pie the GUI itself. So with this new role-based access control, you can create 3 different roles. The first role, it will be a portal administrator, which of course it will have just the full access to the appliance, including the configuration and so on. The next role, it's the portal operator, which it will have access to the infrastructure and the management of the components, but it cannot touch or configure anything. So it's going to start, still will be able to log into the portal, see the things, but do not edit or change especially configuration. And finally, the restore operator, perfect for when you need to just give this specific role to a call center or to a support level 0, level 1 that they need to log in, and they just need to trigger some restores, and that's it. So that will be it will have access to only into this restore of the workloads. Another great functionality that it's coming is the Azure Key Vault support. So we're talking about security, and this new version, it has a lot of improvements within security. So backup administrators can now use the Azure Key Vault to encrypt the backup data, and that will improve the security and control over the keys and password used by these backup policies. Finally, in terms of UI and UX, the login screen, it has been updated. It looks really fresh. In terms of more security for the GUI itself, we have single sign-on, and then finally that will allow us backup appliance administrators can register now identity providers, for example the Azure Active Directory, so you will be able to log in using that single sign-on. the Azure account granular permissions, I can see here that the backup administrators can now register accounts with so much granular permissions to perform the backup and restore tasks. Another minor thing that I've seen requesting on the forums many times is when you're trying to do the virtual machine, the restore process, support for private IP addresses, because a lot of these VMs you do not want to give them a public IP when you're restoring them. So that it's new and it's included with this Veeam Backup for Azure version 3. Finally, the integration with Veeam Backup and Replication. Now, before it was already integrated, but now you will have visibility into the new workloads. So if you upgrade to Veeam Backup for Azure version 3, you need to upgrade as well Veeam Backup and Replication into version 11a to have visibility into the new workloads of Azure, the SQL policies, and of course, you will be able to see the steering of the Azure archive and so on. Now, what is new as well is in Veeam Backup and Replication, you will be able to upgrade to the latest version of the Veeam Backup for Azure. So that is really good, and that it's because it's really tight, the control of all of this. So now, if you want, we can now deploy it from scratch, the Veeam Backup for Azure version 3. We take a look into what's new with the Azure SQL. I'll show you how we can tier into this Azure archive or storage class support. We'll take a look into the multiple Azure accounts, which probably don't have many, but I'll show you anyways. The role-based access control, the security, I'll show you the key vault. And once again, we're going to deploy it all together. And then if you have any questions, you can always put it on the video or on Twitter. So let's go deep dive into the how to deploy Veeam Backup for Azure version 3.
So first things first, guys, we go into the marketplace in Azure. I'm deploying the Veeam Backup for Azure. Bring your own license. We will need to either select a resource group or create a new one on the fly. So I'm just calling it here virtual machine name VBA Azure, and it's creating already. GDLC Jorge de la Cruz is just creating that resource group. I'm deploying it in Europe, UK, South. I think all of this it's by default. I do not need to change anything. Okay, that's the size of the VM. I'm going to select a password on here, which I do prefer over an SSH public key. So let's put here a password. I think it needs to be compliant with the two characters between 12 and 72. So let's try this one. Okay, give me 1 second. This should be okay. Let's see. There you go. Okay, perfect. So, okay, here you can always edit the disks if you want. On the part of the networking, I'm going to select here a network. Let's create a new one on the fly. Where we call this, once again, Jorge de la Cruz network. The address range it's fine. The subnet name that's fine. Okay, perfect. So let's go to the next step. On the management, I'm not going to enable anything. No custom data, so I don't need any extra script or anything. And finally, I can click in review and create, and hopefully this does not take long to build. Okay, it is the review, it's done, and now what I can do is just go here and the process is going to start the deployment with the appliance, with everything. So perfect. It's curious that in Azure it takes a bit less time, the deployment, that the Veeam Backup for AWS. Just a curiosity that it takes much less time of deploying all the components, which they're pretty much similar. So I think I'm going to accelerate the process just a bit, so you do not wait here, but it wasn't long anyways. So you can see that the deployment it's complete. And now what we can do, of course, is just go to the resource to check the VM, to check the VM name. To check the VM IP, so we can connect into the IP. This is the public IP over here. I can just go and take it and open it into another tab. So let's open another tab. Just use HTTPS and the IP. Let's put it in full screen. So now we go into advanced. Of course, that the SSL certificate, it gives us an error, and that is because we are going through the IP, so that's going to always be an error. If you want to resolve that issue, you need to apply a valid SSL certificate with a valid FQ then. So let's click into proceed here, and it's asking me for an username and password. This is the username and password that we defined when we deployed the VM at the beginning with the wizard. So okay, let me put it here. Let's read the whole EULA. Okay, we agree with the EULA. Happy with that. Click accept, and we do need to go over the wizard just to do a couple of things on here, right? So let's take a look if we're in version 3. Yeah, so we are in the Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure version 3. Let's go and add our different Azure accounts. So you know that we have the production Azure accounts themselves, then we have the repository accounts, and then we have finally a new option which is called accounts and the portal users for the role-based access. So anyways, I'm just adding it. Let's go here, let's put the code, and then let me connect with this username and password. Click continue, and I can close now this new tab. So that's fine. That's for security reasons. Let's put this once again big screen. Let's go next. Okay, so now we can just click next here because we are not doing anything as a service provider or anything. So let's click next. Now we can click next. We do not need to edit anything on here either. Not at least for my small lab anyways. So I click finish, and this should be over soon, and we can move into the repository accounts. Now we go to the repository accounts, and once again, this is just in the case that you have another different account just for the backup repositories for the Azure blob storage. So yeah, once again, you could use the same account that you're using for Azure account in the case that you have everything on the same environment. But of course, Veeam recommends that you use different accounts, one for the production environment and another account, different accounts for the Azure blob storage. So in the case that something happens, you always have that different layers of privileges in Microsoft Azure. So that's good. You're connected to the Microsoft Azure. Let's go into next. And once again, remember, this is just a specific repository account or accounts that you can have for your different storage tiers. Okay, let's click next here. And finally, let's click finish on here. Now we have this account for the repository. Oh, my case is the same anyways, but I just added into accounts. You can see on here that we can always click in add, and you can see that I can type a different account, for example, 001, and then with the username and password. This account, it's going to be used later on for two things. One is the SMTP, or another one is for the Azure SQL Server account. We're going to create this later on anyways. As a portal user, once again, you can enable the multi-factor authentication, or you can add different different users this is new on the role-based access with the role-based access control. So you can see, for example, if I create here like I don't know, user, and then this user can be portal operator, restore operator, or admin. So this is the new role-based access that you can enable for the different users that you might have that they need to have access into this. Now we can go into the repositories, and as you can see here, I'm going to add one repository. This repo is going to be kind of my main repo. I can call it VBA repo hot, and then I can select. You see, I have the two different accounts that I can use to connect to the blob storage. So what I'm going to do here is just select one of the Azure Blob accounts that I have on here. So let's pick this one, for example. And now we can go into containers. It's there a container that I'm going to use. Create a new folder on this container. I'm going to call it kind of VBA version 3. And you can see that I can select as well already the tier, including archive, or I can let just Veeam Backup for Azure created the three different auto tiers, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I click OK on here. And this is new as well. You can add the at-rest encryption on the backups for Veeam Backup for Azure version 3. So you can just use the password encryption, or you could use Azure Key Vault as well. So that is new in version 3, that option, that entire option. So perfect. It's creating the 3 repositories that I need. It's creating as well. It has created already the snapshot deletion and invalid snapshot deletion tasks. Now that we have everything, we can go and create our first policy. So we have the virtual machines and we have the Azure SQL. I'll show you quickly once again the Azure VMs, because we have seen this before in previous videos, but let's take a quick look. I'm going to call Azure VMs Jorge de la Cruz. I'm going to select the Active Directory that I have access to, and I'm going to select the regions where I know I have VMs that I want to protect. So for example, that will be these 2 regions. And finally, I can go ahead and select the resources that I want to protect. So let's pick a few VMs on here. That's fine. I click OK here. And I go next. I don't need any application aware snapshots or any script for Linux. I do not want any tagging for the snapshots, and I'm going to enable backups daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and in daily. Okay, that's fine at 10 p.m. and snapshots to keep. So I think that's fine. 14 days. You can see Azure cool or hot. Those were had been auto created. For the weekly, I'm going to select Saturday, and I think that is, let me see, for the weekly retention we can always enable like for snapshots to keep. Still for the weekly I can select just cool and hot, but now on monthly we have different options. So let's do, okay, I want 1 snapshot and 1 backup like every single month. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But let me put here snapshots to keep. That will be okay. Yeah, that's fine. Put the backup on February. Perfect. So yeah, that's fine. And then on the repo now we can select archive. So for the monthlies and for the yearlies, Veeam Backup for Azure version 3 is going to use already archive. So that's great. This is for the yearly. That's good. That is what is new. This is going to be the cost of this policy. Once again, extremely cutting edge technology to calculate all of that beforehand, so you have a taste of how much this policy is going to cost you. Let's go and start it. Now, what we can do on Azure SQL, it's let's go ahead and create a policy for Azure SQL. This is completely new in version 3 of Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure. So go in that, let's put here a name of the policy, VBA Azure SQL. That looks good to me. It's okay. The Active Directory, once again, the one that I have access to, the regions. Let's select all the regions because I don't really know where I might have SQLs that I need to protect. And now I can just go and it will find this SQL from Danilo. Thank you so much, Danilo. And now I'm just going to select the staging server to do this backup. I need to create that SQL account. Remember that we discussed before. You could have created before, or you can just create it on the fly as per usual with Veeam. So let's put here SQL auth. That's fine. And then on the username, I just put the SQL admin and the password. That's fine. And now I go next. One important thing is that, of course, Veeam Backup for Azure, it will need to have access to the ports that we need. So take a look into the help center, please, to know the ports that you need to be open between the Veeam Backup for Azure, the workers, and the and at the end the SQLs themselves. Okay, you can see here I'm already on the weekly, and now on the monthly I can select archive. Once again, nothing new, really cool that we can just go and select the archive to cost savings. And then on the yearly, once again, let's pick the archive and okay, just keep 1 year, that it's okay. Now this policy is going to be a bit more expensive, so that will be around $116. So just bear in mind that Microsoft Azure's SQL is a bit more expensive. Let's now go ahead and trigger it, and let's come back into the VMs. It has finished all the snapshots, all the backup. That's very good. Let's wait for this policy to run a few times. Let's go and see. It's starting. And now I just wanted to show you, I've been running a few of them with error due to ports, but then once I open them following the KB, it is success and it worked without any problem. Once again, thank you so much, Danilo, for the help with all of this. In licensing, this is consuming 3 licenses, 2 VMs and 1 SQL, which is really cool. That's again universal licensing, which you can protect absolutely everything. Let's trigger a restore. You can see that I have here the different databases I'm protecting with the account that I have on here. Restore mode to the original location or to a new location. We select new location. We do need to select which SQL server, the elastic pool, the SQL auth, and so on and so forth. So it's really granular when you try to do the restore, and granular to the point that you need to select the destination, the target SQL that you want to restore all of these database, right? So perfect, that's good. Yeah, let's click here into continue, and then you could put here a reason and the summary and so on. So I'm not going to hit it. I just wanted to show you quickly how it is. Let's go now into Veeam Backup and Replication. As per usual, backup infrastructure, let's select Veeam Cloud Native Backup Appliance, which is a new category on here. And now you can see Veeam Backup for AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. Connect to an existing appliance with the Azure account that it has access into the environment to do to access into compute itself. So I have this subscription, and if I pick the region, which where I deploy Veeam Backup for Azure version 3, I can now see my appliance, and I can go into next, direct connection. That's perfectly fine. I can put some credentials, the credentials that they are to connect for the appliance itself. These credentials are the original ones that we introduced once we deploy it from the marketplace. Or you can always add more users. Remember, thanks to the role-based access now that it has version 3, I can enable the configuration a bit of the repositories, so I can just go here into edit and select the credentials that I have for the blob with account, with the cert key, and later on I can introduce the password as well for the encryption. But yeah, anyways, you can always skip this, and later on you will need to introduce it anyways. But I will leave it like this for now, just to show you quickly how does it look like on the Veeam Backup and Replication. How does it look like to see all the policies, the new SQL protection, and the Azure VMs as well, that it came new with version 11. And now with version 11a, it came this new integration with with the Microsoft SQL, and of course the visibility inside Veeam Backup and Replication. So okay, this has finished correctly. If I go into next, finish, and now I go in home, backup. Now we can see we filter them by type, and we do a bit of scroll on here, or just filter by the new filter view. We can see the Azure VMs and the Azure SQL as well, to the database that Danilo helped me to set it up. So you can see on here, that's perfectly good, the duration and everything, really good visibility. We're going to backups and snapshots, then we are going to see our the Azure VMs, which it's here as well, and we can trigger, as per usual, the restores. And I'm not going to show you the license, but once again, you could manage the license as well through one single portal, which in this case is the Veeam Backup and Replication.
And that's it. So thank you so much for have been doing this deep dive with me, deploying it from scratch, and a quick overview of every single new feature. If you like the video, please subscribe into the channel, just put some thumbs up, and I always here open for your feedback. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope to see you very soon. Have a good day. Bye.